This is an overview of my mod Mythic Tinkers that adds Tinker's Construct support to Alex's Caves, as well as adds 6 new powerful endgame materials, one for each Alex's Caves cave biome. These materials have very unique ways of obtaining, as well as very strong abilities when used in a tool. So in this video, I'm going to be going over how to get each of these materials, what they do, and some of the few other integrations that I have with Alex's Caves. First things first, you can craft a guidebook that goes over all the materials in this mod with an echo shard and a book. This is very similar to other Tinker's guidebooks. You can see that it contains information on all the materials, how to get them, what their stats are, and then there also is crafting recipes and information for how to get the new fuel source. Now, there is a new fuel source in this mod. You need it to craft all the materials introduced in this book, and that fuel source is called Styx, S-T-Y-X, like the River of the Dead from Greek mythology. You can find it inside the bedrock layer of deep, dark biomes. So you can see here, this is called Stygian Deep Slate, and when I mine it, instead of dropping an item, it actually drops a fluid. Now you're going to want to have a bucket on hand to pick this up because it will evaporate over time, so you can't just leave it and come back later. Now it's kind of dangerous if you fall in it. You can see that it will do damage. It will also have these effects, and it will reduce your ability to move. Once you have it, you can put it inside the fuel slot in a smeltery, and you can see that it cooks at 2000 degrees, which is more than blazing blood, and that is the temperature needed to cook all of the materials that are inside this book. The first material is found in the magnetic caves, so we have azure neodymium and scarlet neodymium, but there's also the rare purple Byzantium neodymium. This is a Byzantium color. You can find it generating pretty rarely in these caves, and you can mine it just the same as you mine the azure and the scarlet, except for this one requires that you have a netherite pickaxe. So I can mine this, and it will drop the blocks. It will also drop the raw Byzantium neodymium, and this one is just the same, where you're going to want to put 3 and 3. Make a Byzantium neodymium ingot. When you have a tool made out of Byzantium neodymium, you can sneak and right-click a chest or a container to bind that tool to the container. For bows, this will be a left-click, and then for armor and pickaxes, it is also right-click. When it's bound to a container, if you change your game mode to survival, you can mine blocks, and instead of these blocks dropping, they're actually sent directly to the container. This is the same for things like zombies. If I kill a zombie, its drops are sent to the container. This also works for bows. You can see that the zombies' drops are also sent to the container. And then for armor, if I equip the armor and I pick something up, so let me first unbind this. When I pick this up, instead of going into my inventory, it goes directly to the container. You can also sneak and right-click nothing to temporarily activate and deactivate it. So this is the case where if I want to bind it to this container, and then I'm mining stuff, but say I don't want to have it bound, I can sneak right-click, the stuff will drop, and then I can sneak right-click again, and it will still be sent to the container. And yeah, so if the container is full, so let me fill this up. If the container is full, and then you try to mine something, so I'm going to go back into survival, mine to the container, make sure that it's activated, it will still drop. So if it can't send anything to the container, it will not. But if I remove it, you can see that the container gets filled up. Something else you can do in this mod is you can make tools out of scarlet neodymium and azure neodymium. Now these tools, when held, they will provide the same functionality as the scarlet and the azure neodymium pillars, where scarlet neodymium will bring stuff towards you. So I've got this iron ingot on the ground. You can see that will attract it. If I bring out the azure neodymium, that will push it away from me. And then this is the same for iron mobs like iron golems. If you have a friend who's wearing iron armor, it will repel and attract them. And another thing that this mod does is it makes it so Tinker's tools that are made out of like iron or other ferromagnetic materials, they are affected by these pillars as well. So you can see this Tinker's iron pickaxe is being pulled in. And then you can also use these tools with the Galena Gauntlet. So I can push this out, and it will mine it just like it would a normal iron pickaxe. This next material is found in the Primordial caves. It is called Tectellus, and you can find this inside the limestone. Now, there's some Tectellus ore right here, so I'm going to pillar up to it, and you can see that it looks very similar to the surrounding limestone. This is because it is dormant Tectellus ore. If I try to mine it, it just drops normal limestone, so you have to mine it under certain conditions. You can, however, mine it with a Silk Touch pickaxe, and you can still get it. So I'm just going to mine all of this, and then I can show you how to activate it and how to get the material. So the only way to activate your dormant Tectellus ore is to mine it when the Lux Trotosaurus boss is present in the world. So when this boss is in the world, you can see that the sky turns red, but you can also see that over here, the dormant Tectellus ore becomes activated, and this is when you can mine it. So I'm going to go into survival mode, and this is where you'll want to actually mine it with a pickaxe. And all of the dormant Tectellus ore that you previously mined, when you place it down, it will become activated, so you can mine it here. So kind of I guess the best way to harvest this ore is to mine a ton with a Silk Touch hammer, and then when you've got a ton, you can spawn the boss and just mine it and get all of the raw Tectellus. Now I'm going real quick, cut and show you what this ore actually does. So Tectellus has 3 different traits: terraforming for melee harvest, aeroforming for ranged, and terraformidable for armor. So terraforming, what this does is there is a block tag of stone, naturally generated stone blocks, and terraforming makes it so these blocks mine pretty quickly, about the same rate as dirt. You can see that all of these mine pretty quick. I go mine other stuff, like this packed mud, that's also in the block tag. They all mine pretty quickly, but things like moss, well, I guess moss isn't the best example. Things like dirt, those still mine pretty slow. So this is going to be great if you can get the speed up on these for strip mining, because all of the ores, all the stone that you can mine won't have varying rates, and you can just mine them pretty quickly. Now, another thing is that obsidian is also part of this block tag, so it mines obsidian pretty quickly. And also, this is not affected by the speed of the tool. This is a completely different stat. It just kind of brings down the destroy speed base value of all of the stones in the tag. Aeroforming is it's kind of the same, so it uses that same block tag, except for when you fire a fully charged shot at this stone, it will just break it. If I fire a partial shot, it doesn't break it. It only is a fully charged shot, and this will it will just mine it instantly. If I go and place some obsidian down, you can see that this breaks just the same. Now, terraformidable on the armor, this gives a pretty good armor buff against all types of damage, except for damage by those like those tools that mine stone. So pickaxes, you'll actually take more damage if you're attacked with a pickaxe. Hammers, all of that stuff, you'll have 50% more damage, but any other form of attack or damage that you take will have increased defense. Another thing you can do in the Primordial Caves is add tectonic shards to your tool. So this is the bow or the shield, and when you add 3 of them, it will add the tectonic shield modifier, and it will use 1 upgrade slot. If you want to add more levels, it only takes 1 tectonic shard, and what this modifier does is when you use your bow, it will surround you with the 3 or 4 or however many dino spirits that you also get in the extinction point spear, and these spirits will take damage for you. So as you're charging your bow, you can kind of take 4 hits before you actually start taking damage. So this is pretty good, and it also is applied to shields. So I'm going to real quick add this to my shield. And when I use the shield, it gives me 4 or 3 additional hits that I can take before damage is actually done. This next ore is found in the Toxic Caves. It is called Element 122. And you can see that you actually cannot mine it at all with a pickaxe. So you're going to have to find another way to mine it. Now, The way to mine this is actually with a nuclear blast. So I'm going to go into creative mode, and we're going to set off this nuke and fly very far away and wait for that nuke to go off. This works for any types of nukes, so the ones that you can place. If you have a nuke leaper explode, that will also mine it. But mainly, I guess probably the easiest way is to just place a nuke by yourself. Now, you don't have to worry about the element 122 getting blown up by the nuke or catching fire or even getting destroyed by the acid. Once you go to the nuclear blast, you can pick up all of the element 122 that was mined, and it is now raw element 122, and you can use this in a smeltery to make tools out of it. So element 122 has really good stats, but it also has the downside of randomly losing durability as it's in your inventory over time. Now, the rate that it loses durability is proportionate to the amount of durability the tool has, so it kind of has a bit of a half-life. It also has the effect of whenever it loses durability, whoever is holding it and whoever is like the victim of the attack, the target of the attack, will also become irradiated. So you might want to wear a hazmat suit when wearing this, or find a way to prevent the tool from losing durability. Because if the tool doesn't lose durability, then everything will be fine. You won't become irradiated, but your target also won't as well, and that might be something that you want. So I can demonstrate this. I'm going to spawn in a Ravager, and when I attack it, you can see it becomes irradiated, but I do not because I'm wearing a hazmat suit. Same with the bow on the skeleton. If I hit it with an arrow, the skeleton starts glowing, but I do not because of the hazmat suit. If I go into survival mode, and I take off my hazmat suit, you can see already the tools are starting to lose durability, and I become irradiated when I attack the Ravager. If you don't want to use a hazmat suit all the time, another feature that this mod has is it adds in a new defense modifier called Polymer Plated. And what this does is it makes your armor kind of behave just like the hazmat suit, where each piece of armor adds a 25% chance that you won't become irradiated when you do an action that would normally give you radiation. So I can attach this to all my armor, and then if I go back into survival mode, and I start attacking, my targets become irradiated, but I do not. So the next material takes us to the Abyssal Chasm, and inside the Abyssal Chasm, you can find this new structure called the Atlantean Ruins. Now, these ruins have Atlantean blocks in them, and you're going to want to mine them with a netherite or stronger pickaxe. And when you do mine them, you can see that the blocks, some of them will try to float to the surface. So if you don't want to try to scramble to catch them before they reach the surface and despawn, I would recommend placing down a chest, finding a Byzantium neodymium pickaxe to it, and just mining it this way so all of the items get sent to that chest and you don't have to worry about losing any. Now, these blocks, these items, you will be able to smelt them down into the new material Aurichalcum. So I'm going to jump to the surface and demonstrate what Aurichalcum does. Once you've got your Atlantean bricks, you can throw them into the smeltery, and each slab will give you 1 Aurichalcum nugget, whereas every other type of block will give you 2 Aurichalcum nuggets. So you can see I have 3 in total because I gave 1 slab and 1 brick. When you make a tool out of Aurichalcum, it will have 2 boon slots built in. Now, it doesn't matter how many parts you use that are Aurichalcum, so even if the entire tool is made of Aurichalcum versus 1 handle or 1 pickaxe head, it will always have exactly 2 boon slots, and these slots can be used to add traits, add modifiers from traits from other materials in this mod. So you can see stuff like Tectelis, Byzantium neodymium, and element 122. Those traits can all be added to your tool using a boon slot. And you can do it like so by surrounding it with 5 of the ingot. You can see it's given the tesseracted modifier. When I sneak right click and then go into survival, everything that I mine with this gets sent into the chest as if it was made out of Byzantium neodymium. Now, this is the same for pickaxes, bows, or pieces of armor. All of them will give you 2 extra traits that you can add to your tool. And again, these are only traits that are added in this mod, and given the only stuff that can be like melted down with sticks are the traits that can be added through boon slots. Inside the Forlorn Hollows, you can get a new material called Desolum. Now, Desolum you actually only need Blazing Blood to get, and that's because it is not the main material of the Forlorn Hollows. You can get Desolum by finding a Desolate Dagger and smelting it down into 2 Desolum ingots. Now, when you make a tool out of Desolum, it has the same effect as the Desolate Dagger, where, with the Desolate Dagger, when you hit an Iron Golem or any other mob, there's a pause, and then a second dagger comes and hits it. This is the same with Desolum, where when I hit this mob with my sword, there is a second attack after a brief pause. When you make Desolum into armor, it has the added modifier of Darkness Protection. So Darkness Protection is kind of the same as regular protection, except for it's against all damage, and it comes into effect when you are surrounded by complete darkness. So right now there's no light around me, so that means I'm getting the full benefit of the protection. But as I get closer to a light source, eventually this protection becomes less and less. Now again, you don't need sticks to make Desolum, but it is required to make the next material. Deep underground, you can find a new block called Imprisoning Copperlith, and once you find this, you'll want to mine it with a netherite pickaxe to get pure light. Now, this block does not generate exposed at all, so you will need to strip mine for it, but once you find it, you can actually duplicate it by purifying the pure darkness item. So you can place them in a crafting table, and you can just purify all of the pure darkness and pretty much just farm pure light this way. So you really only need to find one. With Pure Light, you can purify Desolum Ingot into a Prosperum Ingot. Now, Prosperum is the material that you will need sticks to melt down, so even though you can get this just by purifying Desolum, you will still need to find sticks to actually use it. When you make a tool out of Prosperum, like a sword or a bow, and you attack an entity, it will have an effect called Marked for Death. And what this effect does is when you swing and you don't hit the entity, it will do a second attack. So you can see I can attack it once, swing again, and no matter where I'm aiming, as long as I'm within a radius, it will do that second attack. Same for bows, so if I hit the entity and then miss, you can see it will still hit the entity. So it just kind of allows that second attack. And then when you do attack, all of the effects are applied onto that entity. So if you have like a Tinker's effect that, has Pierce, that will still be applied through the Prosperum second attack. Armor is kind of similar, where it's called Retribution, and if I go into survival mode, and I get this guy to attack me, I might have to do that in easy. What happens is, every time he attacks me, he's given the Marked for Death effect, which lets me do a counter attack. So it's just kind of like Thorns, except for you do have to have a Prosperum weapon to actually use that counterattack. Another thing you can do with the Forlorn Hollows is add some new modifiers to your bow. So you can make a Shadow Silk bowstring and add that to a bow. And what this does is it turns all normal arrows into dark arrows. Now, dark arrows are actually worse than regular arrows, so there's not really a reason why you would want to do this, besides using it with the new Dreadshot ability. So one of the things you can add to bows is Dreadshot, and you can do that with 1 Pure Darkness and 2 Vesper Wings. And what this does is it brings in the effect of Dread Bows, where when you fire this, it rains down arrows from above. This does the same thing to your Tinker's weapons. So I can fire this bow, and will rain down dark arrows from above. Now, when you do fire dark arrows, and you have the Dread Shot ability applied, it will fire like 3 times more dark arrows, so significantly more dark arrows are fired when you do have the dark arrows modifier. And I can demonstrate this by adding this to just a regular bow, and what this does is it fires normal arrows, but it fires significantly fewer of them. So if you have something that you want to do with your tool that requires like more arrows, you can do this by adding like the dark arrow modifier to it, and then just more arrows will be fired. Finally, inside the candy cavity, you can find earthen gum ore generating inside the cake layer. Now, you actually need a netherite shovel to mine this as opposed to a pickaxe, and it's probably best to use Silk Touch instead of Fortune, because the amount of ores that drop is dependent on luck. So sometimes you can have it where mining one of these doesn't actually drop something at all, like what just happened there. Whereas if you mine it with Silk Touch, you can get the block itself, and then if you want to convert this into regular earthen gum, you can chew it and eat it, and then when you eat it, you can actually get the gum out of it. Now, if you try to eat regular earthen gum, you will just eat it forever. Same with the block of earthen gum. And what you can do with this earthen gum is you can smelt it down in a smeltery and get a bucket of earthen gum. Now this is kind of sticky. You can see I kind of stick in it. I can't really move in it. And this is used to make the material for the candy cavity. Once you have a block of earthen gum and a block of amethyst bronze, you can throw these into the smeltery and alloy them into the new material called gum bronze. So this material it requires sticks to actually go through with the alloy, and when you make a tool out of it, that tool has a lot more durability, and the durability actually doesn't decrease based on how much hunger you have left. So you can see I'm kind of close to full hunger, but not really. So it's going to go through a lot of different block breakings before I actually start losing durability. Whereas if I eat this stick, and now I'm at full hunger, you can see my tool will never lose durability so long as I maintain full hunger or close to full hunger. There's a lot of cool possibilities you can do with these materials, such as this hammer that you can just strip mine and instant break stuff with, but if you let your hunger go beneath like 9 hunger bars, then you'll start getting poisoned and it will just lose durability rapidly. And then there's also this bow that has the dread shot ability and then the dark string modifier and Tectalis, and when you fire a fully charged shot, it just rains down arrows that will break blocks. So you can use this to quickly clear out an area using only arrows. So yeah, that's about it. Let me know what you think, and if you have any ideas and any feedback you might want to give.